Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about my flight back from Imperial to Merced Regional. We flew out there. This was a longer cross country, 400 nautical miles, to go out and see the Blue Angels perform their winter practice at El Centro. So Imperial County is the airport next to the naval base. Let's take a look at that there. The naval base is Class Delta. And then just off to the northwest are some restricted areas where the Blue Angels fly and they practice. But every day they practice. There's at least 2 flights a day, and the public is able to go to the end of the runway and experience it. And I'll share some pictures in this video. So we had experienced that on Saturday, and now it was time to fly back on Sunday. Now, we had some storms moving in to California, and they were coming in from the southwest and from the west. And so we had some low pressure systems, we had some troughs, and the weather was just gonna not really cooperate, or it was on the border of working out or not. So what we decided was we were gonna go and fly what we can and divert where we have to, and just slowly work our way back. Even though if it takes us another day of a delay, we would still continue. So Sunday morning came along and we took off. It was sunny and clear at Imperial. The winds were starting to pick up, and we had some clouds coming in over the mountains from the San Diego side, which would be the west. So let's kind of take a look at the map there. So there was my planned route, and the route was going to go from Imperial, going to go up over the Salton Sea, and then I was turning out over the desert out over Joshua Tree National Park, because the valley was starting to get covered with some clouds. And if I got to the north end of the valley, I knew I was not going to be able to make it through the Banning Pass. So I would have to come up over Morongo Valley and Yucca Valley. So instead of doing that, we just went all the way around. There's a mountain range right here on the east side of Palm Springs and Bermuda Dunes. So we headed out this way, and we were getting reports of light to moderate chop or turbulence. And as sure enough, as we hit those mountains, we started getting some. And we had some light turbulence for the majority of the trip. Now, clouds were coming in up over these mountains towards us and starting to kind of close us in, but we knew we had clear skies out to the northeast. So all we had to do is stay clear of the restricted areas. So 29 Palms was going to be a diversion point. We also had Yucca Valley, we had Apple Valley, and we also had Barstow. And if we had to go way out of the way, we could have turned around and went out to Needles. So we had some options out there. So as we took off and we get over 29 Palms, ATC was telling us that we just need to hold our altitude the best we can because of the turbulence. So we ranged anywhere between 6,500 and 8,500. So we chose to kind of climb when necessary. We had ATC clearance to do that, and it worked out great. All right, so let me go back over here to the track logs. We can see the actual path. My airplane's unequipped with autopilot, so this is all hand flown. There's 2 of us. My friend is capable at keeping wings level, and I trust him, so there were times when he would take it and I could concentrate on communications and navigations. And as we worked our way over towards Palmdale, north of San Bernardino. Here's Victorville. We're able to see all the airplanes out at the Victorville airport. At this point, we had to alter our course, and we turned more directly into the wind, brought us closer to the clouds, but we were able to come up over near the Lake Hughes VOR. And from there, near Gorman, the mountains in the southern San Joaquin Valley are much lower than the rest of the Sierra Nevadas. So we were able to come in, and then we landed at Bakersfield Muni for a break. And at that point, we were able to get fuel, grab a snack, and kind of take a breather and then look at what our weather options were. So here's the route that I had planned, and it was very, very close. So here's Lake Palmdale. We come over the Fairmont Buttes. This is a nice transition if you are flying from the Central Valley into SoCal or to the desert area. This is a great pass to come over. And the waypoints I use are Fairmont Buttes, Weasel, and Grape. So if you have a navigator, you can put those in and you can navigate to them. It's a great area to cross. I've crossed at Lando, which is just to the northeast of that. But the mountains are higher, and you do get a lot more up and down drafts there. I've crossed over at Ouija, and then I've crossed over at the Tehachapi airport. So any of those passes are good. My recommendation is Tehachapi, and then this pass that I go over here near the Gorman VOR. We also had an option to come back up if we had to divert. We were going to go out to Mojave or even Inyokern, and then we could come back through Walker Pass, through Lake Isabel, to get back in the valley. Turns out that was a choice that would have been horrible. The clouds were just building up over the Sierras, and it would really have closed somebody in. Okay, so, and then from Bakersfield, we had a crosswind to take off. We basically flew to the west to get around the Class Delta of Meadows Field in Bakersfield. We could have got a clearance through it, but I was only climbing to 3,000 anyway. Skirted that, followed the 99, and we just had to dodge the cells. There were rain cells. There were bands of clouds. There were areas of bright sunlight and clear visibility. And as you can see on some of the pictures, it was just a matter of navigating around the cells. And we flew all the way back in. There were some thunderstorms that actually had moved in just before we got there, and they were on the east side, which allowed us to come in from the west over here and just come back, get into a right pattern for runway 12, and we landed on runway 12. So let's take a look at the track log of that. And I can go ahead and we can start the airplane up here. So you can see as we traversed back home, I'm gonna go ahead and forward here. There's where we go out over towards 29 Palms. Come back out over, there's Victorville, there's Palmdale. Here's how we came up over the Gorman Pass, cruised along there. And once we crested over the Gorman Pass, we could see for miles and miles. The valley had clear skies below the clouds, except for the rain cells. And that was just basically navigating and circling around them. All right, so once we got going north again, just as a recap, we went up the 99, stayed clear of the Fresno Class Charlie, although we were clear to go through it. There were clouds over Fresno. I can show you the weather. So as you can see on the weather, we just were kind of going through. You may notice on my flight that the own ship I changed to an F-18 just in honor of the Blue Angels. That was kind of fun to have that for this trip. Here we are turning into what was a pretty sloppy but effective 45. It's right 45 for runway 12, and then we landed 12. All right, let's just take a look at the altitudes here. So let's just go all the way back to Imperial. You can see on this chart that altitude was pretty difficult to hold just because of the instability of the air. There was some turbulence, and again, this is pretty normal. You just have to ride the waves. And so the highest we got was 8,000. The lowest point over here was about 5,800. So we got a couple of thousand feet to kind of move up and down. Once we got over the hills, we started to descend. There we are on the ground, and then the route home, we just held it right about 3,000 and kind of bounced between 3 and 3,500. Overall, it was a great trip. Learned a lot, as usual. I've flown this path multiple times. We try to get down to this every year to see the Blue Angels. If you ever plan on flying down there, be very cognizant of all the restricted areas. My recommendation is get on ATC flight following. Plan for turbulence if it's in the late afternoons. Try to go when the weather cooperates. This flight was fully VFR. It was funny because we came over here to 29 Palms and I turned, and I was quite aware of this restricted area, the R2501 Delta. And so as we were flying this, they were asking me if, are you aware that there's a restricted zone there? I was like, yeah, I'm aware. So situational awareness is very, very important. And if you do go this back route, if you get out in this area, northeast of Big Bear City. So this is a huge mountain with campground. You can fly up there. But I navigate to the waypoint called Apples. That's a nice junction point. So from this point, you can peel off and go in multiple directions up to Barstow. You can go back down to the Cajon Pass and get back into the LA basin. So it was a great flight. Definitely one for the logbook. It was a great time. And now I'll just go ahead and share some pictures of that. So if you find this interesting, like and subscribe. I appreciate you, and thankful that you took time to allow me to bloviate about my VFR trip. Have a good day.